Thank you. Thank you for all being here. And I have to do, first of all, the thing that I always remind women of when there's a whole room of you is that you have sisters, you have mothers, you have daughters, you have cousins, you have neighbors. We're going to need every single one of them to vote with us come, next year, November. So we need to start working on them now. And, whether they're at every event or not, that doesn't matter to me as long as you help us get them to the polls. Because we're 53% of the electorate, and if we don't use that number, shame on us. It is my honor today to introduce our speaker. I had dinner with her here in Concord about a year ago, and when she was just thinking about whether or not she should run for president. So it was the topic of discussion that evening. And I have to say that I strongly encouraged her. We need more women to step up for every office in America, and it's so great. Isn't it great to see a woman, a Republican woman, running for president? As you know, as the National Committee woman, I'm neutral, completely neutral. Neutral. And, it's my job to help welcome every candidate to the state and to help preserve. My number one job, I've always been told, is to preserve our First in the Nation primary, which is something that Steve and I are constantly working on. So I've introduced a lot of candidates and like many of them, and still, to be quite honest, don't know who I'm going to vote for. But today, I want to talk to you about Carly, because I'm so glad, like I said, that she stepped up and, she exudes confidence. And I just had the greatest respect for her from the moment I met her. She has spoken at the RNC and at the National Federation of Republican Women, both places where it was difficult for her to get through her speech because she had so many standing ovations. Okay? And the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about before we bring her up here was the debates. Steve Dupree, our National Committee man, is the chair of the debate committee. I am one of the 12 people that serve Steve on that committee, and I know that some days it doesn't feel like we made a lot of changes, but we really made a lot of changes. There were 24 debates last time, and we had people like Candy Crawley moderating those. We've had some downtimes this time, but for the most part, it's a vastly improved system. But the debate I want to talk about is the last one, where I got in a little discussion on Facebook and privately with a number of men who felt that our speaker today was the person interrupting. And my argument to them was, if she was a woman, if she were a man, I don't even think we'd be having this discussion, and I truly don't. And I don't think we'd be having a lot of other discussions. So, for years and years, men have played on teams longer than women have, but we need to have a team. We need to be team players, and whether you're voting for Carly or whether you're voting for somebody else, as another woman, we need to have her back when she's out there and there are sexist remarks or discriminatory remarks. I think that we need to make sure that she's on equal footing as she runs for President of the United States. So I'm not sure if she's right around the corner. So please join me in welcoming Carly Fiorina.
We packed them in here today. Well, thank you all for, sit down there. Thank you all for being here, and thank those of you who stepped up today to new leadership positions as Republican women. Thank you for your leadership. I have to begin by saying how much I appreciate the men and women of New Hampshire, and how much I appreciate an early conversation with Juliana and others. When I launched this campaign back in May, I was 17 out of 16. I say 17 out of 16 because polling companies didn't even ask my name. That's how few people knew me. And while some of you may have known me from the business world, the truth is that here in New Hampshire, less than 4% of Republican primary voters had ever heard my name, and they didn't know I was running for president. And of course, Juliana mentioned the debates. I wasn't on the main stage debate in August. I had to fight my way on in September, and now we're on the main stage, and we're going to stay on the main stage. And that is in no small measure thanks to the great support I've received here in New Hampshire. You know, this is an interesting political season. Everyone's fixated on national polls and debates, but the truth is, what wins elections remains the same. It's votes. Voters matter. And what also remains the same is that the citizens of New Hampshire take their very special responsibility very seriously. You know that you have a special role in vetting candidates for the highest office in the land. And you take that responsibility seriously. And so you took me seriously. When a lot of people didn't think I had a chance, you showed up in living rooms and town halls and listened to what I had to say. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. So I appreciate the support you've given me thus far, and I will look forward to earning your support on the day that you vote. I will never ask for your support because I'm a woman, although I'm proud to be one. I will ask for your support because I believe I am the most qualified candidate to win this job and to do this job. And whether you've made up your mind who to support or not, in your heart of hearts, every single one of you know this: you cannot wait to see me debate Hillary Clinton. And the reason you can't wait is because you know I'll beat her. And there's only one way that happens. There's only one way it happens. I have to be the nominee. And it is vital that we defeat her. It is vital. This is an election, ladies and gentlemen, about leadership. This is an election about leadership here at home, and this is an election about leadership around the world. I believe we need a different kind of leadership in the Oval Office now. The kind of leader who understands what it actually takes to restore possibilities for every American in this country, regardless of their circumstances. The American dream is dying before our eyes. You know it, and I know it. This used to be a place where, regardless of your circumstances, there were possibilities for every American. And we no longer believe that this is a country of limitless possibility. I first started to think seriously about running for president when actually I was at a Rotary Club luncheon in the Seacoast here in New Hampshire. And a man came up to me after I finished giving a speech and he said, "You know, Carly, we don't think of ourselves as a nation of limitless possibility anymore." And that really hit me. Because when we don't think of ourselves as a nation of limitless possibility, we are losing the core of who we are. I was with a group of people this morning talking about, just as one example of this, talking about the income gap in achievement in schools. It used to be that it didn't matter how you started, that in the end everybody graduated from high school on a level playing field and with an equal set of opportunities in front of them. That's no longer the case. Possibilities are being crushed for too many Americans. And we need a president who understands what it takes to restore those possibilities. That takes a different kind of leadership. I think a leadership that understands how the economy actually works. We also need a different kind of leadership to cut this government bureaucracy down to size and hold it accountable. Because the truth is, this government is gobbling up so much of our resources, gobbling up so much power, that it is contributing to the crushing of possibilities. I've said many, many times that when government grows so big, so powerful, so costly, so complicated, and so corrupt, only the big, the powerful, and the wealthy, and the well-connected can handle it. And that's clearly happening. Crony capitalism is alive and well. It is alive and well under both Republicans and Democrats. It is undeniably true that under both Republicans and Democrats, government has gotten bigger and bigger, more expensive, less competent, and more corrupt, and that's been going on for 40 years. And you pick whatever issue you care about. They're all getting worse, not better. That's not an exaggeration, it's just true. How long have we been talking about reforming the VA? How long have we been talking about securing the border? How long have we been talking about reforming the tax code? How long have we been talking about limiting the size of government? The truth is we've been talking about these things for decades. And it is part of what I mean when I talk about the difference between management and leadership. Managers are people who do not challenge the status quo. Managers are people who operate within the system, even if it's broken. We don't need any more managers. What we need is a leader. A leader is someone who challenges the status quo, who understands that's their job. A leader is somebody who understands you don't solve festering problems unless you challenge the system. Those of you who have followed me for a while know that one of my great heroes is Margaret Thatcher. And Margaret Thatcher once said to her fellow countrymen and women, "I am not content to manage the decline of a great nation." Well, neither am I. And I think we've been managing the decline of this great nation for quite some time now. I am prepared, with your prayers, with your support, with your votes, to lead the resurgence of a great nation, both here at home and abroad. And if there was ever a reminder of the unique role of leadership that the United States of America must play in the world, it is what has happened over the last 72 hours. The day of this attack, our president tells us that ISIS is contained and continues to insist that our biggest national security threat is climate change. Yesterday, on Monday, 48 hours after this attack, President Obama continues to insist that climate change is a vital national security threat and that his strategy is working. On Saturday night at the Democratic debate, we continue to hear Mrs. Clinton, who is as accountable for what is going on with ISIS as President Obama. We continue to hear her deny the reality of who our enemy is. Let us review, ladies and gentlemen. In 2011, President Barack Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton withdrew from Iraq precipitously against all the advice of their generals. They did so not because it made military sense, but for political expediency. And when they withdrew every single troop, they left vast swaths of territory available for ISIS to conquer and from which to launch their caliphate as well as attacks abroad. We now know that ISIS has had a capability, has had an intention to build an attack capability in Europe for some time. They clearly have succeeded in that. And they also have an intention to build an attack capability in the United States of America. And yet still, President Obama insists that we should allow Syrian refugees to enter this nation even while his own administration says we cannot appropriately vet them. I will make a strong statement. I am the most qualified leader in foreign policy running in the Republican Party. Why do I say that? Because I have spent decades in Europe, decades in the Middle East, because I know more world leaders on the stage today than anyone running, with the possible exception of Hillary Clinton, but I didn't do photo ops with them. I had meetings with people like King Abdullah of Jordan or Angela Merkel or David Cameron. I am the most qualified candidate running because I've held the highest clearances available to a civilian, because I've advised the CIA, the NSA, 2 secretaries of defense, a secretary of Homeland Security, a secretary of state. I have been in and around the world, and so I know this. The United States of America is uniquely positioned to lead. Only we can lead, because indeed we are an exceptional nation. We are an exceptional nation because we are the only nation. We are the only nation on the planet and in the history of the world that has 2 profound ideals at our core. One, that we judge an individual as an individual, never as a member of a group. And 2, we are the only nation with incredible military superiority, who has never used that military power to subjugate peoples or to conquer territory, but has instead used our power to lift people up, to liberate people. We are unique and exceptional in the world. And when we do not lead, when we do not stand with our allies, when we do not confront our adversaries, the world is a very dangerous and tragic place. President Obama has unfortunately, Secretary Clinton as well, has unfortunately convinced the American people of a false choice. And the false choice is this: if you don't agree with what we are not doing, the only option is tens of thousands of boots on the ground. It is a false choice. The allies we have in this region have been asking us for very specific things. The Jordanians have been asking us for bombs and materiel. The Kurds have been asking us to arm them. The Egyptians have been asking us to share intelligence. I could go on because I know most of these leaders. And this administration has denied our allies the leadership, the support, and the resolve they are asking for. We must step up and lead. And we cannot defeat this enemy if we will not call it what it is. This enemy, Islamic fascism, Islamic terrorism, believes they are at war with us, and so we must wage a war against them and win. Just say, it is really easy. It is so easy to look at all the issues we have here at home and abroad and become discouraged. A lot of Americans are discouraged. It's why they stop voting. It's not that they don't care. It's that they think they don't count. Every problem we have can be solved. We understand what it takes to restore possibilities in this nation. We understand the power of entrepreneurship and innovation. We know what it takes to cut a government down to size. Let's start by knowing where our money is and who's spending it. We know what it takes to lead in the world, but what we need in the Oval Office is a leader now. And just because you've been a member of the professional political class doesn't mean you're a leader. In fact, we have a lot of politicians who are managers, not leaders. So think objectively about what we actually need in the Oval Office now. I believe what we need is somebody who understands how the economy works. Somebody who understands how the world works and who's in it. Someone who's dealt with bureaucracies all their life and understands how to cut them down to size and hold them accountable. Somebody who understands technology, because technology is a tool. It's an incredibly powerful tool that we can use to solve problems, but it's also a weapon that's being used against us. But the most important thing of all, I think, is to have someone in the White House who understands leadership. Leadership is knowing how to make a tough call in a tough time when such a call is necessary. Knowing what it takes to stand up and be held accountable for that call. But the highest mission of a leader, in addition to challenging the status quo, is actually not about your big office or your big airplane or your big ego or your big title. Leadership is about service. And the most important calling of a leader is to unlock potential in others. And so I think we need a leader in the White House, and I humbly present myself as that leader who can unlock the potential of this nation, cut this government down to size and hold it accountable, and lead once again in the world. Because the world is weary and desperate for this exceptional nation to stand up once again and lead. Thank you so very much.
Croc TV.